Good morning and welcome, you guys. It is a beautiful, beautiful fall day. It's really not really fall, it's autumn. We are excited about the seasons changing. I know that I'm excited about it. Came into the studio this morning and Wanda and I were talking about it. I love the fall, you guys. I really do. I'm a summer baby, but in my mind, the fall is my season. I think my little outfits get better, my shoes get better. I just start feeling better about the season. So, nevertheless, this is just a good day. Sisters Heart. We stream live on IntellectualRadio.com. I am your host, Kim. You can also pick us up on iHeartRadio as well as Facebook Live if you are our friends. If you are our friends on Facebook, please give us a thumbs up, a heart, and please don't hesitate to share. Good morning to all of you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Again, it's a beautiful, beautiful day. It's Sunday, and I am so excited to be here. Listen, real quick. I have playing in my car. It's on my phone. Hezekiah Walker song. God favors me. And when I tell you that the favor of God have me just so excited that I can just take off and run every time I think about it. I kid you not. When I tell you that, I just get excited thinking about the favor of God. I get excited thinking about what He has done for me, what He's doing for you, what He's doing for my family. What He's doing for my friends, those that are connected to me. I can literally take off, run, because we understand, how things work. There's ups and there's downs, there's valleys and there's hills, there's mountains. So there's always going to be a season in the situation where for the most part, sometimes we're not going to like it. We're not going to be comfortable. But if we just understand the process, and if we just understand that the season will eventually change, so we have faith and confidence and know that it will get better. So I'm just excited about that. And that leads me to today's message, today's word. And I'm really hoping that you get excited about it as well. I'm hoping that you get something from it. And we're just going to go. We're going to just jump right into it. Okay. We're going to jump right into it. So like I said, the seasons is changing. So we start to see things go on with regards to the representation of the season changing. How many of us know it's football season, NFL season, it kicks off. So we're excited about that. The season comes where, we know that it's football. We start to see mothers go back into the kitchen, or even fathers go back into the kitchen and start to cook those old hearty, healthy meals and the soups and everything. That's a representation of the season changing. There's another thing that goes on. The leaves begin to turn colors on the trees, and that marks a season change. It marks a change in the seasons. And I love all of those points, right? Especially the football as well as the leaves. I really do love those. Those are my two favorites, right? And of course I get excited, especially when I think about, once again, the seasons changing. But how many of us know, and this is a show that gives us a word. It is a biblically based show. I do believe that Jesus gave us parables for us to use as a guide in life. So I definitely want to speak to you on that level. But it is a biblically based show. So when we think about seasons changing, the word leads me to a very familiar Bible, familiar book in the Bible, which is Ecclesiastics, right? And it's the 3rd chapter. And I'm just going to go over it real quick. I hope you catch it. If I'm talking too fast for you, especially on Facebook, let me know. Say, Kim, slow down. But I just want this to you, right? It says, and again, this is Ecclesiastics, and it's the 3rd chapter. It says, to everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven, right? Under the heaven. And it's a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted, right? We call that harvest. And a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. I want to mark that, right? And then there's a time to weep, there's a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. I'm in a dancing season, y'all. There's a time to cast away stones. There's a time to gather stones together. There's a time to embrace, and there's a time to refrain from embracing, right? Everybody can't come into your presence and into your person. There's a time to get, there's a time to lose, there's a time to keep, and there's a time to cast away. It goes a little bit further and it says there's a time to rend, and then there's a time to show. So what is rend tear, right? There's a time to rend and there's a time to show. There's a time to keep silent, shut your mouth. And then there's a time to speak. You got to know which time you're in. There's a time to love. And the word says it. There's a time to hate. There's a time of war and there's a time of peace. Glory to God. That's his word, right? So we give reverence to God for his word. For everything, there is a season. And oftentimes we find ourselves like a tree in a season that presents to us a live or die situation. Yes, it's a live or die situation. And if you make the wrong choice, if you make the wrong decision, you can find that it can actually mean death to you. Amen. It can mean death to you. So I want to talk about the tree for a little bit, okay? Because we can learn a lot from a tree. And if you do your work on it, and I don't have time to really go into that because I like to keep the show to 30 minutes, you guys. But if you do your homework and if you study it a little bit, okay, this particular tree that I'm talking about is called a deciduous tree, right? And I talked about this a year ago on this show. It's a deciduous tree, and a deciduous tree loses its leaves, okay? It allows them to fall off. It makes a decision to protect itself. Well, what is it protecting itself from, Kim? It's protecting itself from a season of dormancy. It's protecting itself from a season where it knows that there's going to be some lack and there's going to be some shortages. So it takes protective measures to ensure it's surviving during the most difficult seasons. It knows that the very thing that makes it beautiful, right? Its leaves. It makes it beautiful. The very thing that makes it beautiful will not help it sustain itself once the season changes, once there is a cold. And as a matter of fact, not only does the tree know that it won't sustain it, but the tree knows that if I hold on to it, it's actually going to kill me. Isn't that something? It knows that if I hold on to it, it's going to kill me. So let me just break it down for you a little bit. Let me just help somebody. And like I said, this is 30 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it to 30 minutes. But in the springtime and in the summertime, those particular seasons, there's plenty of sunlight and there's plenty warmth, right? It warms up, it feels good, and everything looks good. And then what happens with the trees, right, is the leaves begin to get an abundance of chlorophyll. Yes, they get abundance of chlorophyll. And the tree, in essence, is being fed. The chlorophyll is interacting with water, right, from the rain. It gets carbon dioxide and it gets its sunlight. Now, all of these elements are working together to produce carbohydrates. These carbohydrates are like food to the tree. And this is what's needed for the tree to grow and for it to thrive, right? Conditions have to be right for this tree to grow and for it to thrive. And while the tree is growing and while the tree is thriving, what we see, we get a manifestation of the leaves, right? Now, watch this. That chlorophyll, that abundance of chlorophyll is giving the leaves the green color. It's actually masking the color of the leaf, the real color of the leaf, which is what we know and what we find to be beautiful, right? So that chlorophyll is masking the true color of the leaf, but it's feeding it its nutrients. It's feeding it what it needs, right? So we know once the season begins to shift and we see it, right? The leaves begin to change colors. They're actually not changing. They're just going back to their original state. They're going back to their original form, which is what we see today. It's the scarlets, it's the crimson, it's the golds, and it's the yellows, right? And while it looks beautiful for us to observe it, while it's beautiful for us to lay our eyes on it, we take pictures of it and post the stuff, and it looks all good, right? The tree understands. Watch what the tree understands. I can't keep feeding this right? And me too. I can't hold on to these leaves and sustain myself through this season. There isn't enough daylight. There isn't enough warm temperatures. The cold days are coming. So what I'm getting from, in terms of the elements, what I'm getting is not enough to sustain me as well as these leaves. And the tree is genetically designed. It's genetically designed by God. Now, isn't that something, right? Because we as mankind, we have dominion. We have dominion over all things. And even a tree, something as simple, it doesn't move, it can't go anywhere. Something as simple as a tree knows and understands that what it's holding on to is going to eventually drain it. It's going to drain it to the point that it's going to kill it. See, the leaves, right? We know this. The leaves, they're tender. And the cold temperatures, which will kill the leaves out, right? It will stop the water from flowing because the water will freeze, and that will stop producing what's needed for the tree, which is energy. Right? It knows that it needs energy. So the tree must shed, in some cases, just let them go in terms of their leaves. That's what we know today is being falling off. The leaves are falling off. Isn't that amazing? As we look at as it to just be falling off because it's just something that lets us know the season is changing. The tree itself is in survival mode. The tree knows that even every season has a season. Every season has a season. So the tree is in what we think is just fall. The tree is in survival mode. And some of us today, the season has run its course. The season has a season, and you haven't yet shifted your mindset for survival mode. You haven't yet shifted your mindset to know that what may look beautiful to the world and what may look beautiful to those that are walking by, and they're admiring my situation, they're admiring my relationship. What they don't know is that behind closed doors, it's really killing me. They don't know that I'm holding on to a house that I can't afford. I'm holding on to a car that I can't afford to drive. I'm holding on to those things that make me look beautiful, shopping in the finest boutiques and going to the high price end of the store because I want to look a certain way. But in all actuality, I'm no longer in that season of wealth. I'm no longer in that season of prosperity. I'm in a season of dormancy where I need to hold back. We hold on to our children for too long. You got 30 plus trifling sons that are still sucking off of their mama's breast, and you got daughters that want to act like their mamas, but they don't have a house to what's a window. How to go? A pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of. They don't have nothing, and they're taking up time and they're taking up energy with regards to you and your season, and it's hard on you to keep trying to hold on to them and maintain them. And what you have to do is learn from the tree that you're now in what's called survival mode, and you have to let them go. You have to let people that are no longer serving their purpose, no matter how good it looks on the outside, that are no longer feeding you. You have to know when that season has come to an end. You have to use wisdom, because no matter how good it looks, right? Like, think about it. The trees in this season, they look beautiful. The trees, as I was coming in, some are already starting to change their colors. Already you're starting to see the yellows and the golds and the reds. Already you're starting to see the beauty of that transition. But internally, what we don't see with our eye, our natural eye, we need to get it in the spirit. Internally, that tree is about to die. And it knows that I got to get rid of these leaves, because no matter how nice they look, I got to let them go. My son once put on Sister's Heart. We have a Facebook page, Sister's Heart. If you're following it, thank you so very much. If you're not, go out there and like it so that you can follow it. He posted out there once before, be as faithful as a tree with no leaves. And I didn't understand it. I did not understand it. And I pondered it and I thought about it, and be as faithful as a tree with no leaves. And it didn't make sense to me at first, to be as faithful as a tree with no leaves. And that led me to study the tree and the process of losing its leaves, right? The tree doesn't necessarily want to lose its leaves. Nobody wants to let go of those things that make us beautiful, that make us feel good. Right? It makes us feel good. It makes us look good. Nobody wants to let go of those things that give us, our quote unquote value. Nobody wants to let go of those things. However, God is just so God. When it comes time for that season to end, because for everything, we read it in Ecclesiastics, for everything there is a season. When it comes time for that season to end, we have to let it go, because if I hold on to it, it is going to kill me. Now, we see the trees once the leaves are gone. The trees are not beautiful. The trees are not something to behold. They're not pretty, right? They're not pretty. You look at the tree and say, I'll be glad when those leaves come back. I'll be glad when it gets back its color. It's nothing beautiful. How many of us are willing to go through an ugly phase just so that we can have our beautiful phase? You understand, right? The scripture, he's giving us beauty for ashes. How many of us are willing to walk around with an ashy face just so I can get to my beauty? How many of us are willing to walk around without our leaves, without our coverings, so I can get to my beauty? How many of us are willing to do what I need to do just so I can be what God has called me to be? So many of us die trying to find our purpose because we're holding on to people that serve no purpose. Again, so many of us die trying to find our purpose because we're holding on to people as well as things that serve us no purpose. Sometimes you truly have to take the position of, for God I live and for God I die. And if that means I have to be out here faithful as a tree with no leaves, if I have to be out here bad, ain't that what they say? If I have to be out here bad, I no longer covered. I no longer have something that's me where I look beautiful. I don't feel beautiful. My bank account is low. My money is short. My change, what they say, my money is strange and my change is funny. However that expression go, everything is not looking good and everything doesn't look like it's working in my favor. It doesn't look like it's working in my favor. But I know that the God I serve is faithful. How many of us are willing to do that? How many of us are willing to look like that naked tree from one season to the next, knows that if I stay here, because the tree doesn't go anywhere, it's planted. If I stay here and be planted, if I stay here and be rooted and grounded, I know that my change is going to come. I know that I'm going to get my beauty back. I'm going to get my swagger back. My money's going to get right. I'm going to be able to get my hair together. My edges are going to grow back. My waist is going to get snatched. How many of us are willing to be ugly and stay like the tree planted until God restores back your beauty? How many of us are willing to make that sacrifice? I'm going to let it go, even if it means that I got to let it go and stand here by us are willing to know that every season has a season. For every end, there is a beginning. And for every beginning, there is an end. That's what's called a season. You have your winters, you have your springs, you have your summers, you have your falls. Women get pregnant and they go through what's called trimesters. You don't stay in your first trimester forever. You eventually go to your second trimester after 3 months. You don't stay pregnant forever. You go from one trimester to the next. With every trimester, it's leading you to your travailing. With every trimester, you're eventually going to see the baby that you're carrying. How many of us are willing to go through the seasons? And the seasons, for any woman that will tell you, it's not a pretty thing. Your feet swell. You understand your neck get black. You get what they call that pregnancy glow. You're craving food in the middle of the night. You're constipated. We go through all kinds of changes. Our body changes. We get stretch marks. Those stretch marks don't stretch back. We go through all kinds of changes, but we understand the process of the season. If I stay in it, I know that I'm going to give birth. I'm going to give birth to what God has created me to bring forth. Staying in your purpose, being like the tree, understanding the process of your season. But we are so hell bent on aiding and abiding those bad behaviors of other people. We will aid and we will abide. Aiding and abetting bad behaviors of people, right? A lot of times it has nothing to do with us. A lot of times their behavior really has nothing to do with us. But because we're aiding and abetting them, right, we become guilty of it ourselves. No, you cannot and I posted this on Facebook, you cannot continue to carry dead weight in a dormant season. You can't carry dead weight in a dormant season. Do you know what dormancy means? Everything slows down. It's still moving, but it slows down. Right. And I'm talking about when things begin to slow down, are you making your adjustments? I remember when I had lost my job, right? And I never really lived beyond my means. When I bought my house, I bought a house that was affordable. I never really purchased brand new cars. I've always purchased cars that were slightly used, right? With warranties. So I've always been responsible. But when I went through a season of dormancy, when I lost my job, right, I saw leaves begin to fall. Leaves begin to fall. And these leaves were people, right? They began to fall off, right? Because I can no longer sustain them. I can no longer feed them. I can no longer do what I used to do. So I saw leaves begin to fall off. But there was something about staying faithful through my process. When you know that every season, for every ending, there's a beginning. For every beginning, there's an end. When you believe that and can't nobody talk you off of that, eventually you know that it's going to change. And not only will it change, but it will change in your favor. So stop aiding and abetting people with bad behaviors. Their season is not your season. And sometimes they're carrying over into your season where you're supposed to let them go. Because if you don't, you're going to die because you can't sustain them. We see it. We see it. I was talking to another friend the other day, and she was talking to me about how she was helping her daughter pay her daughter's rent. Wait a minute. Did you pay yours first? But we'll do that because we think that we're helping somebody, right? And then we try to use the word, we try to use the scriptures to justify that. We try to use the scripture to justify that. Well, I know that if I help her, that God will give it back to me. Wait, no, hold on. Hold on. You have to first take care of home. You have to first take care of where you lay your head. You have to make sure that your bills are paid. You have to make sure that when you get through that 30-day cycle, watch this, that you can stay where you're laying your head. You can't help her if you can't help yourself. Did we not just learn that with the tree? The tree understands the leaves are beautiful. The leaves have changed their colors. They're looking red and crimson. They got the golds and the yellows. They're popping. People are admiring them. But the tree is not confusing people's admiration for its survival. It's not confusing that. The tree understands. I understand that the people think that you look good, but I got to let you go because I'm in survival mode. We get so caught up in what people will say and what people will think. No, you have got to get yourself in position that you can not only live today, but you can live tomorrow. You hear me? That you can live tomorrow. You understand? Don't give up. The tree doesn't give up. No, the tree decides, I got to let you go. I can't give up because it understands that there is a season, that every season, it has a season. It's going to change and it's going to change in my favor. But I don't want to go into my next season on one leg. I want to go into my next season strong. And I can only be strong in my next season if I let go of dead weight. I can only be strong in my next season if I cut off the arm, right? Think about it. Thank you. I just heard this. When you go to a doctor and you have a dead skin, right? For whatever reason, it could be an infection. It could be something that has set in, gangrene. Something is going wrong in your body and your skin begins to die in that area. The doctors won't leave it there, right? They'll begin to cut it off. They want to remove it. You can't hold on to dead weight. You can't hold on to dead things because eventually you will begin to resemble what it is that you're holding on to. You're holding on to dead things will eventually look like dead things. You're holding on to dead weight when you're supposed to let it go, get it off of you so that you can see the next season, so that you can be there when the season changes, so that you can be strong when the season changes, so that you can come out swinging when the season changes, so you can be strengthened. And if that means getting naked for a minute and being exposed, guess what? Go ahead and be exposed so that you can be strengthened. If that means getting ugly like a tree with no leaves, guess what? Be ugly like a tree with no leaves. It's still faithful, right? I might be ugly, but I'm faithful. I'm still in it. I haven't given up on me. I haven't given up on God. I'm still in it. My God. And if you just wait long enough, Wait for your season to change. Wait for your leaves to get their color back. What we call that. Wait for your swag to come back. Wait for you to build up your substance. Wait for your credit to get back right. Wait for there to be some money in the bank, right? I can go there all day long with just wait for it to change. And it will eventually change. My God, it's all seasons. There's a time and a place for everything. And it all changes for us if we just believe and if we just have faith to know that it's working in our favor. The word tells us that all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. What is God's purpose in your life today? What has he purposed for you to do? Are you doing it? And I'm not talking about aiding and abetting bad behavior. God didn't call us to aid and abet bad behavior. People got to know God for themselves. You got to learn how to let those sons and those daughters and those husbands and those wives and the people on the job, those so-called haters, you got to learn, let those people go. Stop aiding and abetting them. Stop allowing their problems and their issues to become your problems and issues. I had to learn that. I had to learn that I can't carry the burdens of someone else. I got my own problems. I got my own issues. Now, what I can help you with, I'm going to help you with. But you have to know God for yourself. Anything less than that, guess what becomes a burden to me? It becomes dead weight to me. And if I'm looking for my season to change so I can be strong, I can't carry you and me at the same time. I'm a big girl. I can't carry you and me at the same time, right? We all got to be in this together. Look at trees when they're around. We look at the botanical gardens. None of those trees get up and leave, right? They encourage each other. Say, yeah, man, you done lost your leaves. I'm improvising. You done lost your leaves. I done lost my leaves. We're not going to leave. We're going to stay right here until our change comes. Get around trees that understand that every season has a season. And if we stay in it and be faithful, our season eventually is going to turn, and it's going to turn in our favor. Understand it, appreciate it. I love you guys. Listen, I don't know where I'm at with my time. I don't have my watch today, but my time is really up. That's all I got for you all right now. I want you to understand it. Every season has a season. I love you all. This is Sister's Heart. We stream live on IntellectualRadio.com via iHeartRadio, as well as Facebook Live. Good morning to all of my Facebook viewers. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I see you guys. Listen, please, if you like it, if you got something out of it, share the message and tell someone why you're sharing it. Don't just share it, but tell someone why you're sharing it. They need to hear it. Tell them to share it, right? Every season, we all go through stuff. Listen, we all go through seasons, right? And I'm not telling anybody to abandon anybody. But what I am telling you is that you can't aid and abet bad behavior, right? The tree knows, and study it for yourself. The tree knows that I can't hold on to the leaves because the leaves will kill me, right? The leaves are going to take away from me something that I really don't have to give right now. I don't have the strength to carry the leaf. I don't have the energy to carry the leaf. The tree understands it. So it's not that the tree wants to get rid of the leaves, but the tree understands that it must get rid of the leaf. We need to see that. We can learn a lot from a tree. Seasons have seasons, and you can't carry people past their season. When it's time to let people go, and we know when it's time, the handwriting be on the wall. Stop calling them. The handwriting be on the wall. Stop helping them. The handwriting be on the wall. And we ignore the signs. We ignore the signs. But I'm reminded of a story, right? I'm reminded of a story in the Bible where there was a famine in the land. And for the Bible scholars, I believe it was 2 or 3 men. And they were in this land, and there was a famine there. And in the other distant land across from them were their enemies. And those men knew, because there was a famine in the land and it was not going to change, it was a season of famine. They knew and they understood that if we stay here in this land, we will surely die if we stay here. Now, there isn't a famine in the distant land, and we understand that those are our enemies, but maybe it's possible that we can get there and we can live. So do we stay where we know that we surely will die? Or do we take our chances and leave? where we could possibly live. And for those of us that read the Bible and those of us that know the word, we find in that story that those men, they made a decision. It was a life or death decision. And they looked at it this way: if we stay, we're surely going to die. And if we leave, we might just live. I'd rather might just live, right? And make the decision than to know if I stay, I'm surely going to die. Seasons have seasons. And if we learn to just listen and pay attention, the choices and decisions that we make, our survival is depending upon it. It's depending upon it. We look and see what's going on in the world today, right? Is it going to get better? Well, that depends on us. Well, what will we do in this midterm election? What will we do? It's all driven by the choices and the decisions that we make. And so often we prolong our seasons because we haven't made the right decision. So long we cause ourselves to go through unnecessary struggle. Why? Because we made the wrong decision. And it's okay to make the wrong decision, but admit that you made the wrong decision and begin to pluck off leaves that are not supposed to be there. Begin to make a decision that I'm going to live and I'm not going to die. And if that means that I got to cut you off, then I'm going to cut you off so that I can do it. All right, you guys, I love you all. I'm going to get some of this water. I love you all. That has been my time. This is Sister's Heart, where we stream live on IntellectualRadio.com via iHeartRadio. I am your host. I am your girl. I'm your sister. I'm Kim. Listen, if you're looking to celebrate the Lord on today, you can meet me at 12:30 at 8001 South Ashland, where my pastor is Bishop C.L. Johnson, and Lady Johnson will be there along with the rest of Restoration Tabernacle to love on you. I will be there today. And then I got a surprise church that I'm going to today at 4:00. I'm looking forward to celebrating with them concerning their Family and Friends Day today. God is good and God is great, and He's that all the time, right? So I love you. I will see you all next week. God bless you. Continue to pray for us and be looking for some things that I have going on next year for SOAR. Not next year, next month for SOAR. Sister's Heart, 3 years in, you guys, 3 years in. It has been 3 years. And all I can say is to God be the glory. Talk to you next week. God bless you.